Hey, it's Don Airy. Another main story for you. I haven't done one of these in a long time. I've been thinking about my friend Virgil. I think I've told a lot of stories. Maybe not on this format here in YouTube, but to my friends I've told about Virgil, what a character he was. But I never mentioned his older brother. It's Harvey. Harvey's a character there ain't nobody like Harvey. He grew up a skinny kid. You call a kid skinny, especially when he's a teenager, or when he gets to be a teenager, you say he was wiry. He's got a wiry strength. But he was a skinny kid. His mother had to tell him, she said, "Look, Harvey, you take a shower and don't forget to move around, or you're not going to get wet." It's about how he was. Parents have to take hold of both of his hands when he's crossing the street, because when a logging truck would go by, the wind would just take him away. So he just lights a feather. So. Anyway, he grew up into a wiry young man, and then in his older, as he became productive, he fell into carpentry. He was a pretty good carpenter. And he used to joke about he wasn't skinny. He was slow. He was slow at everything. Talked slow, thought slow, worked slow. And he would joke. He had that self-deprecating humor. He'd say, "Hey, I might not be very good, but I'm slow." But the truth was, he was a real good carpenter, especially on the finish work. He was well known, for his cabinetry and doing trim around the inside of a house. The drywallers would come in and do everything, and he'd come in afterwards, and trim the windows and put up, solid oak banisters and things like that. He was really, really good. But gosh, you'd have to snap a chalk line on him after his break, see if he'd moved, for lunch. So, his boss was, pretty, what do you call it? He was enabling to him. He felt that he got his money's worth out of him. But he used to joke and plague him awful. He'd say, he says, "Harvey," he said, I'd pay you what you're worth, but you couldn't live on that. Just that kind of thing. You'd take it in good grace. That's the kind of guy he was. But the finish work one summer kind of dried up. I can't remember what was going on, but the economy kind of slowed down, and the housing industry had slowed, and there wasn't much going on, and so his boss didn't want to lose him, to a competitor, so he tried to give him some extra work, and keep him employed. But unfortunately, the only thing he had going was an order to build about 1,000 of these wood pallets. The wood pallets are made out of rough oak. They're really, if you ever tried to bang a nail into one of these old pallets, the nail, 90% of the time would bend over before you could get it to drive through. But that's what he had him doing for a couple of months in the summer. But Harvey, his mind was set on finish work, and you don't rush finish work, It's there's one day, Harvey was working on doing the pallets, which he didn't care much to do because it's just rough wood, he didn't care for it much. But he's sitting there, he's banging away on building pallets, and his like I say, Harvey was wicked slow. If slowness were goodness, Harvey had been a saint, I tell you. But his boss says, "Hey, Harvey," says, "it's 10 o'clock. How many you got done?" And Harvey just set his tools down, stroked his chin like he didn't have a beard, but he stroked his chin like I've seen everybody else do it, so he did it. That reminds me of something else. You can't tell a main story without going off on a little bit of a rabbit trail here. Speaking about doing things for no particular reason, when I was a teenager, my father was Reverend Donald Airy Sr. We were in a restaurant together, and he's got sugar in those little packets, for his coffee. And he's shaking it like this, yeah, I do. You know how you've seen people do that, they shake the sugar down, and all of a sudden his eyes lit up, and he goes, "I just realized why you do that. You're shaking the sugar down in the bottom of the bag so it don't spill out when you rip it open." He says, "I was always doing it just because I saw everybody else do it." You might be laughing about that, but because you're thinking about some stupid thing that you're doing just by rote, just because you saw somebody else, kind of monkey see, monkey do. That's a true story. I ain't exaggerating that at all. It actually happened when I was a teenager, and my father laughed about that for months. Like, oh, guys, I can't believe that I did that for years and not knowing why I did it. But anyway, that's kind of Harvey. He was down there working on those stupid pallets, and his boss was getting kind of a little bit impatient, because you did have to make money at it. And he says, Harvey, he says, how many you got done? And Harvey stroked his chin, like I say, just because he saw other people do it. And he looked up in the sky, and looked up over at his boss, and he says, well, I'll tell you, when I finish the one I'm working on and do one more, I'll have two.